All right, founders, it is time for another pitch deck critique and review. And this time we have Forms. This is an AI company, AI. This is going to be important because we get a lot of AI pitch decks these days. And it's all about building forms for small businesses or anybody that needs a form on the internet. This is a pre-seed deck, although they have done substantial development. This is pre-seed because they're only asking for 150K, which is a curious number. But I like the idea of it. There are so many good things that are happening with this deck. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's very good. This is a good deck. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to bury the lead here. It is a good deck, which makes me happy. And what I like about this founder is this founder's been very persistent, trying to get my attention, taking my feedback. And I wanted to do this pitch deck review to reward this founder and basically say, hey, I really appreciate the hustle. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, seven-time funded founder with 2 exits. And I know my last video was going to be the last one of the year, and I was going to take the holidays off. But once again, this founder has been really impressing me with their persistence and the relentless attitude of getting this pitch deck in front of me and asking for feedback and integrating the feedback. And when I took a look at this pitch deck, I said, hey, this is pretty darn good. But there's one problem that we're going to talk about with this pitch deck, and you're going to see it unfold as we go through it. If you want your own pitch deck critiqued and reviewed, just stay till the end of the video. We have a process now, and it's making it a little bit more difficult to get your pitch deck review because they've got a big mountain of pitch deck reviews that I have to do on a weekly basis. But if you stick around, pay attention, I'll let you know how to submit your deck for your own critique and review. If you're joining us from stars.com, where I am the Chief Strategy Officer, I appreciate all your support out there. Do the YouTube thing for everyone. Like, comment, subscribe. I always want to hear your comments. Let's jump into this pitch deck. First, let's take a look at the cover. It says right here, stop building, start generating. Create stunning forms in just 10 seconds with AI. The problem is this is for the customer. Remember, don't talk to the customer. That is not what you want to be doing in any of your pitch deck. You want to be talking to the investor. So get rid of this tagline right here and say something straightforward that the investor understands, such as AI-driven form creator for small businesses. Stop talking to the customer because your customer is not your investor. Your investor may be sitting here going, wait a second, why would I stop building and start generating? What does that have to do with me? And maybe the investor doesn't need to create stunning forms. Maybe they do need to create stunning forms, but you don't want to take that chance. Just be very straightforward and talk to the investor. Tell them what they can expect in the pitch deck. This is the tagline, very important. Usually you're looking for a one-liner that basically explains your unique value proposition in one line. I've got videos all about this in terms of analysis and using ChatGPT. Just check my YouTube channel for the other videos that are going to help you with this. So we are getting to the problem statement here, and the problem here is up in the top left, and there are just a few editing design issues. So you want to move this headline right to the top, because immediately what I start doing is I start looking at these pictures and I start reading these pictures, and you don't want to get distracted with this. So move the headline right up to the top. Second, this headline is way too long. It's too big. And on top of which, we don't need to use sources, and I don't need to see things like school teacher, university club head. That's going to come later in terms of your go-to-market strategy or your market in general. I like the pictures. You could have done with just one picture, and that would have been fine, or have someone get frustrated with all the different forms they have to do in terms of events, university, business owners. But let's look at the content of this headline here, and you're going to see that it's pretty good as far as a start is concerned. In the $14 billion e-form market, market-wide research identifies that 232 million businesses face significant challenges in building efficient form processes across teaching, event planning, small business operations, club activities. These inefficiencies undermine time management, restrict customization capabilities, and result in disorganized data collection and management. First of all, the $14 billion market is not as relevant as this number here, the 232 million businesses that face challenges creating forms. So you want to start off with that and simplify. And I don't need to see these things such as teaching, event planning, small business operations. I don't need all this information. And I don't need market-wide research. I really don't need all that extra detail. Just get right to the size, scope, and severity of the problem. So you can tell me that 232 million businesses face challenges creating forms on the internet because these forms are, I don't know, inefficient, they can't be customized, and they don't collect data, and they don't manage the data. And how much are we spending here? So you could say 232 million businesses spend $14 billion a year creating forms that don't work for them because they're inefficient, they're not customizable, and they don't do data collection and management. You see how I just got right into the nitty gritty. And I'm going to be coming out with some videos where I've demonstrated myself some problem statements, but I've got a lot of other videos that get straight into the meat of the problem statement. So don't add all this information. You don't have to pile on here. Just get straight to the size, scope, and severity. What's good about this is that everything in here, you already have the raw material. So you've researched. What you can do is go to ChatGPT and plug in this entire statement and say, hey, ChatGPT, break this down into one sentence that focuses on the size, scope, and severity for a startup pitch deck, and start to adjust it. Say, I want to start with the target market first, 232 million. Give me a few options. Give me 3 options, and then tell me which one is the best one. Well, what's good, again, I'm going to say that you started off with this raw data that could be fed in. So it's a refinement issue. It's all about refining this problem statement, but this founder has put in the work to make sure all the building blocks for the problem statement are there, which I give kudos. Now we get to the solution statement. Once again, solution is right up in the left corner, which I really like. Forms is an AI-driven form building platform that enables users to create customized forms effortlessly using simple prompts, streamlining the process, and enhancing efficiency. Now we're talking winner, winner, chicken dinner. This statement makes me so happy because I'm giving this really like an A. Because guess what? We talked about how inefficient and uncustomizable and it doesn't collect data on the problem. And then what we did is we addressed all those problems. And it's one sentence, which makes me go, wait a second, it's such a stark difference than the problem statement. The problem statement was like a paragraph. And this is just an elegant, one simple sentence. Therefore, since you told me everything in this headline of what this is, I can read these bullet points and I go, okay, I've gotten everything I need to from here. So when I read these bullet points, I go, okay, that's more information. Save 75% time versus manual work, effortless customization, seamless data capture, and easy export. That's great. So this solution slide, very straightforward. Now, I can only get you to an A to make an A+. I would say, let's be fair. I can get you an A- based on my feedback. But if you want to get to an A+, you need to get feedback from the market. But I'm going to say that pretty much everybody should be able to understand what this does. So go back and fix the problem statement to align better and be just as elegant and streamlined as the solution statement. And you're starting off with a very strong pitch deck. Now we're going to go to the market research and size. Potential size in 2024 and then 2030. I don't need to see 2024 to 2030. We do not care. I just want to know what is the current market and how big it is. Reachable market is 4.3 billion, realistic market opportunity. And I like the way this is sparse and efficient, but we're missing the math. I also like the way that we have logic in here in terms of your SOM, which is 10% of the SAM. But just make it very straightforward. Tell me how many businesses there are. So we're looking at 232 million businesses, right? You already told me. Times how much money are you going to charge equals your TAM. And we're talking about every single possible business. Just be straightforward and write it down. Every single business that could use and would want to use forms. Tell me how many there are, show the math, and then say this is how much we're going to charge, and this should be the market. Don't tell me how it's going to grow. Just tell me how big the market is right now. I'm believing that small businesses are going to grow. Businesses that need forms online are going to grow. And then when you move to your SAM, you have to explain to me how you got here. So the SAM is where you're going to focus based on your business model and where you might have a competitive advantage. And say, we're focusing on this part of the market, which are colleges, small businesses, librarians. I don't know what that is. Tell me how many there are, once again, times the amount of money that you are going to charge them. And that should be your SAM. This e-form industry, I don't understand because your TAM is the total. So the fact that you got your TAM in your pie, this graphic doesn't work. So stay away from fancy graphics like this. If you're going to have any graphic, just have the 3 concentric circles and then you should be okay. But once again, I like the direction this is going. I understand that there are calculations. Show the investor on how big this industry is. And then you can get to, we're going to do 10% of the SAM. And we should be able to make X amount of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. On top of which, how many is that? Give me a number, $100 million plus is what you need to be a unicorn. Okay, here's how it works. And I like the simplicity. We can adjust this just a little bit. But as far as simplicity is concerned, it makes sense. 1, I'm going to say number 1, I create the form. 2, I give it a prompt. 3, the form gets ready. 4, I export. Or 4, you see how I got confused? You share the form. 5, responses, 6 export forms. That doesn't totally make sense, but I like the simplicity. So I try and simplify it and just have it go from left to right and just try and break it down. So just say something simple as the user tells the AI, what form do I want? So now I prompt the form. So really, we don't even have to get into create the form. So give it a prompt, then the AI creates the form, and then you embed the form, you get responses, and then you get data and analytics, because that's the solution that we said. So this really is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-step process. That's okay for me. So let's simplify it down. Sit down and say that we give it a prompt, form gets created, then the form gets shared or embedded, and then the form responses are collected, and then you get to analyze the data. That's simple. We're moving in the right direction. This is so much better than the usual how it works slides that I get. Notice the order, everyone, as far as the slides are concerned. We went problem, solution, market, and how it works. That's the basic slide format and all the slides that you want to get things going. Now we have business model, starter, professional, platinum. I like how simple it is. You don't need to have all this here. You're going to have a headline right at the top. Our business model is that we're going to start with a free plan, and then they can upgrade to 2 other plans, starter, professional, platinum, and then just show how much you're going to charge. That's it. You don't have to show me get started. I'm not a customer. I'm an investor, so I don't need to see all this stuff, but just put your headline up here that we start with a free package, plus we have 2 plans that they can upgrade, and here's how we're going to charge. So again, like most of the slides here, the data, the foundation of the slides there, we just need to move things around and make it simpler. Now we get to the go-to-market strategy. We have learned that the best way to acquire our initial customers is through social media influencers, followed by offering a freemium model, converting them through newsletters. I really like this. It's a strategy. You know what's really important about this is we have learned. This indicates to me that the founder has actually done some experimentation. And now as an investor, I can say, okay, so tell me about it. Which social media influencers did you use? This is just not a big laundry list of tactics. We're going to go viral. We're going to get paid ads. Straightforward. It's a statement right at the top. This is the headline, a stark, bold headline that says, here's what we learned and here's what we're doing. But then we went and we added all this, and it just muddied up the slide. So we don't have to put this right here. What I want you to do is show me the social media influencers and then the freemium model, converting them through newsletters. Give me just a 1, 2, 3 step on what you did, and then give me a number of how many social media influencers are working for you right now. Show me some numbers to tell me you have data to support this market strategy. And I know this strategy is working because you're going to see a traction slide, which is very impressive. So overall, these slides keep getting more and more impressive, and they've got a good foundation. But the problem is we've added too much stuff. It's kind of like we've overcomplicated the slides when they don't have to be. Now we get transformative influencers. This is the slide that I did not like because I have no idea what transformative influencers are. Forms stands out by delivering AI-powered customizable form solutions that are simpler and affordable and more efficient than competitors. Okay, if this is a competition slide, then just say competition slide. That's all you have to do is say competition. Don't get clever. Be clear, not clever. Be clear, not clever. This statement up at the top, the stark headline, that is clear. Kudos to you. I like it. And this is what we can do to clean this form up, because we got forms and we got Jotform, which I've used. So I know this, and I've used Typeform and Google Forms. You've got so much information explaining all this stuff that you don't have to put all this information in these boxes. Put them in this section. So all you have to do is say AI powered and talk about the benefits. So let's say AI powered or AI prompted forms. Forms, yes. Jotform, no. Typeform, no. Google Form, no. That's all you have to do. You don't have to write all this stuff in here. Just give me some checks, some check marks, and some X's that show me it's not happening. And so I can scan your competitors. Now, what I like about this is you've got the main competitors up here, means you've done your research, especially in this industry. But this right here, this side, this column of all the rows and the dimensions that you put in there doesn't make sense. This is not something to compare. Revenue, who cares how much revenue these have made? This is a competitive analysis. So get rid of this. Ease of use, I'm going to take that for granted. Tell me what's happening in terms of ease of use. Put in here pricing model. Don't tell me it's affordable. Put in pricing model, and then just say, okay, or freemium model. Is it free, upgrade, all this stuff? And that way you can explain to everyone, all right, Forms has a freemium model. So does Jotform. So does Typeform, Google Forms. But is there a paid model for upgrades? It's customizable because of these upgrades. Well, Google Forms does not. You have to do programming in there. So all the foundation, once again, the data for this slide is there. I love this stark headline up at the top, but start to rework this entire competitive matrix, but you're on the right track. Here's the team slide, very straightforward. The only thing I'd want is a headline up the top here. We have X amount of years experience, and what's really important is this right here, everyone. I need to pause and talk about this one-line projects we work together for everybody to listen very carefully. It's worth stopping this to talk about it. I see this happen over and over again. Founders present their team and they go through the bullets, which is good, and they say, here's who we have on our team, here's our CTO, and they did this, this, and this. Here's where they graduated from school, here's what they've done, and it's great. But there's nothing said about the chemistry of the team, how the team came together to give the investor an understanding that this team is cohesive and this team is built to win. There's a difference. Think about this. If you were an investor and a founder came and presented to you and showed you team slide and everybody had worked at big companies and they got all these accolades, and you asked, how did you all meet? Which is a question all investors ask for a reason. And you said to that investor, or that founder said to you, you're the investor, oh, we met last week at a hackathon and we decided to start working together. No matter how impressive all the founders are, that's going to be a huge red flag. Now imagine you don't have that many accolades. Imagine nobody worked at Google or Facebook or any of the FANG or the main companies, Meta. But you said, we went to college together and we did 3 startups, and here are the startups that we did, and we raised a little bit of capital together, and this is what happened. And this is how we work together. And we work together so well, even though we failed. And guess what? We're going to do this again. And you tell the story about how everybody's got different skills and there's chemistry between all the founders. What startup do you think is going to get a better chance of funding? You don't have to be a seasoned investor to understand that startups are hard, teams pivot, and if you don't have a team that has gone through, worked on projects together, and struggled together, that is not a team that you want to invest in. Because in the early stages, investors don't invest in projects or products, they invest in teams. Because most likely, 99% of the time, your team is going to have to pivot anyway. Your hypotheses, your assumptions are wrong. Y Combinator does this. They invest in teams, and you see legendary stories. You hear them of teams that pivoted right in the middle of the Y Combinator batch and still got funded. To me, that illustrates this whole principle that you, as the founder, need to demonstrate to the investor that your team is cohesive. And that's the reason this slide, when I saw projects we worked on together, that was winner, winner, chicken dinner. And even if you look at these founders, like, you can just tell, you just get this sense that they are a cohesive team. And technical, there's so many good things on this slide. We can improve it. So we got these founders, which is great. Don't worry about the university. You don't have to put the university in here. Nobody cares about university education. I'm sorry to bring it on you. But we talked about full stack developer, skills in React, skills in SSMA, social media management. Is that what SMMA is? Sounds like mixed martial arts. But we can establish a little better in terms of the bullets, but add this headline at the top. We have 12 years of working together over 5 companies, right? And you can put these at the bottom, Confast AI, Albitron AI, LargeMind. You can say we've worked for 10 years together on multiple AI companies and had this amount of exits, something like that. Or the companies raised this amount of funding. You know what I'm talking about? Give me a headline that talks about how many projects you've worked on together. And then all this starts to make a lot more sense. And then if you want, have these companies, these logos at the bottom, if they're recognizable, but you can list the companies at the bottom. Just give me that headline up at the top. Really solid team slide. And the reason I'm going to say, yeah, this is awesome. We work together and you're technical. I love the fact that you just said full stack developer, because we invest in technical teams. If you're building a technical solution, especially if you're building an AI, the fact that you've got AI experience and you're full stack developers, well, push that a little more, highlight it, and just say full stack developer with 5 years experience in AI. That's going to help you so much more, but great job on this team. This is a team that I think will be very successful, and I think already is successful based on the traction slide that's coming up. Here's a great statement. So we got traction in the top left corner, which I really love. Here's a great statement. Let me read it for you in all its glory. Launched just 4 months ago, Forms has achieved remarkable growth at 2,175 signups and 4,875 forms created to date. That is a traction headline, everyone. It's beautiful. Almost brought a tear to my eye. Now, if I'm going to be nitpicky, you don't have to talk about remarkable growth. Just say, in 4 months, Forms has 2,175 signups, with 4,875 forms created to date. I love the fact that these numbers are more exact. You're not saying 10,000 plus whatever. 4,875, it's fantastic. You can keep updating these numbers every time you send out the pitch deck. Then you explain, we've experienced 37% month-over-month growth, which is great, 28% week over week. Great. But show me, don't tell. This is another great fact right here. So incorporate these quick bullets and then show me a growth graph. If you really have 30% month over month growth, show that to me. 28% week over week. Get that data out there because that's just going to create more credibility. Not to say you don't have it. This alone is extremely credible. But if you can show, don't tell, that's fantastic. Just have these big numbers so I don't have to read these sentences. And then just put this, 70% users say they would recommend FormZ to other, or an NPS score. Now, here's the question here. I don't understand. Trusted organization. What does this mean? So if you're going to say we have these two major enterprise clients, well, then show them, but explain what this trusted organization means. There's a bit of a language barrier. But as far as traction is concerned, this slide alone is going to make me take a double look at this startup. This is a startup. This is a group of founders that understand traction says all. Traction trumps everything. And if we got traction, such as 2,175 signups, we're going to wonder, well, what did you guys do to get these amount of signups? Clearly something is working. This creates such an opening for a conversation that investor wants to understand. Bravo on this slide. Chef's kiss all around. Chef's kiss. Here's the S slide. I like the S slide as well. It just says straightforward. We're raising $150K to get 5,000 customers and make an additional $600K in 12 months. We are raising X amount of dollars for Y milestones in Z timeframe. Right? Z timeframe. Here's the Y milestone, 5,000 and 600,000 in terms of revenue. I like it. And then use of funds, very straightforward. Now, this is the 150K. Here's the question mark that I've got, which lends itself to a big problem. Overall, this pitch deck, like I said, is an A- level type pitch deck. It can use some adjustments. Let's say it's an A, right? Let's say that we can get it to an A with these adjustments and then make it to an A+ with feedback and get investors. But let's say we're talking about an A- or maybe a B+ to an A- because we can clean a lot of things up. But overall, the foundation is top notch. Like I said, I'm doing chef's kisses all across this pitch deck. But let's pause in terms of this problem that I have. The problem has to do with AI and the use of AI and AI washing all over the place. Just because you can do something with AI doesn't mean it needs to be done with AI or it's a business. For example, here's how we challenge AI companies. Does it need to be AI? Could we just create a really special algorithm and have that create the forms right there? An algorithm may use AI in terms of its foundational model to create the algorithm, but doesn't need to be AI. Case in point, I'm building a company right now, and the front half of it is not AI. We're not attaching an LLM to it. We're not adding AI. It's just a really special algorithm. Now we're using AI to build that algorithm, and we're using AI to understand it on all the different ways that a customer or user are going to interact, but it doesn't have to be AI. And that's the conversation I'm having with investors because they're going to ask, well, why don't you use AI? Because we don't need to. Why put in the cost? It's just really straightforward. But here are the components where AI makes such a huge difference because it saves so much time and it creates these magic moments for the user that only AI can do. And that's the question with this deck. Do we really need an AI form builder? Because I've used form builders before and the form builders are great. Now, I'm not saying you don't need an AI form builder. I'm saying this pitch deck hasn't explained to me why you need an AI form builder. Now, there are signs that you've got this figured out because if you have all these signups, well, then maybe what you're telling me is the market is sick of the manual process. Maybe they don't know how to create a form or they can't change the form, and your stuff is so amazing that you can just tell or prompt your AI to say, create me a form that captures this data, and the AI conversation says, do you want to make sure that you capture email addresses and the last purchase or what city they live in? Maybe you should add that. And maybe there's a type of logic that goes in where AI starts to guide the user in terms of what form to create in the first place. Maybe the problem is forms don't work because users or small businesses are capturing the wrong data because they're looking at these templates. It's not customizable. And you've got a product that walks the user through what data do you want to capture, and maybe asks a whole bunch of questions about the business and recommends a whole bunch of forms way faster than the user going through a stack of templates and saying, what form do I want to use? Think of it the same way as creating websites. Today, we're moving into an area where I used to have to scroll through all these web templates that were used for WordPress or Squarespace. And now AI is just going to tell me. I can just go and talk to the AI and say, I need to create a website to accomplish this. This is my product. And the AI will basically recommend, and I can say, no, change the colors. And it pre-populates it for me. Use cool colors. This is the navigation. Needs to be mobile ready. This is the customer. And I didn't have to put any of that in. And so I got this magic moment where I say, this is absolutely amazing. I have a founder that I worked with that basically can create a website in 40 seconds if all the input is right. Takes geographic location data, takes the data off the Google listing, and then poof, based on the industry, here's your website. And then you can start to customize it. In that way, we all know the pain of setting up a website. I've spent weeks. I've paid tens of thousands of dollars to set up a website. And AI can do it in one fraction of a time. It's a 100x solution. This startup says that you've got users that want this, but you haven't explained to me in more detail. Therefore, I question whether this startup has to even exist, and that you've got a problem. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have to exist, because you have not communicated to me the full logic, the story, the impetus. Here's another idea. Maybe these forms don't collect and crunch data enough. Maybe it's create a form and the AI, like you promised, can interpret the data, and you can go to this AI and say, tell me all the customers I need to email to follow up based on this offer. How many customers took advantage of this coupon? You see how now I'm reducing the friction and the pain points that your potential users have to go through. But I'm telling this story. The main takeaway is to this founder and these founders, start explaining the narrative, the story that makes this more of a painful problem that justifies why this startup needs to exist. Remember, there are vitamin startups, there are painkiller startups, and there are antibiotic startups. A vitamin startup is a nice to have, but don't really need it. And that could be a form builder. An AI form builder, nice to have, but why not just go to Google Forms? Google Forms just tells me, here's what it is. But if it's too much of a pain to drag and drop, which I know these form builders do, which you've got validated evidence that your users say it's painful, so I don't do it, and they don't collect the right data, and they spend all this time, well, then now we've got a painkiller problem. But explain that in your pitch deck. And if you've got an antibiotic problem, something like people are creating these forms, but they're leaking all this data, and they don't understand their data and what to do with it, and our AI basically adds 10% to the bottom line, or lets them capture 50% of businesses they lost because of their forms, because all the forms out there are janky and it's antiquated technology and nobody's looking at it because Google Forms dominates the market. Well, then tell that to me, but scale it up, ratchet up the painfulness of the problem beyond having a vitamin problem to solve, a vitamin solution, because that's where a lot of AI is right now. There's a lot of AI where people go, I can build this with AI. And just because you can build a solution doesn't mean that solves a problem that users will change their behavior to solve. That's my number one advice. But as far as I'm concerned, your pitch deck skills are in the upper 5% of founders that come and submit their pitch decks. So kudos to you for paying attention, for watching all my stuff. It gives me great appreciation. I'm very grateful to see pitch decks like this. Makes me know that my stuff is getting out there and is making a difference with a great founder team, that if you keep building your product and you work your narrative and you've got a good story, it seems like a good story with traction. If you get the internal reality, which is good, and the external perception to line up with your pitch deck, I think you're going to have no problems raising money. I hope this has been helpful for everybody else there to learn. Tell me what you think about this pitch deck and any questions that you have. And like I said, if you want your own pitch deck critiqued and reviewed, leave a comment and I will send you the instructions. And then you are going to have to do a little bit of homework. There are a few steps that you have to do, because I don't want to critique pitch decks that are just straight out of whatever world that you come from, where you just create pitch decks with no framework or no process, that I can give substantiated feedback, valuable feedback that goes deeper than just, this pitch deck's missing the problem slide, the solution slide. I now want pitch decks that follow the general basics of pitch decks, so everybody watching my channel can just go to the videos that I've got for the basics, and then we can get into deeper discussions, deeper dives into your pitch deck, and learn some of the nuances, learn the science and the art of the pitch decks based on a similar foundation, based on a baseline, a starting point where we can all work together. Watch some of the other videos that I am going to put on the screen. Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you're watching this at the end of 2024, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, however you celebrate, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and Happy New Year. I'm going to see you in 2025. Thanks again for hanging out. I'll see you in the next video.